All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Emporia Invitational. My co-host here, H7 or Glictor, that's his new moniker is.
Yes, hello.
We're getting into Game 3, which is Ithaca versus K-State Academy B. Switch over to the Pro Draft here. We should be seeing bans fairly shortly. So it's been a pretty interesting game so far. We saw Ithaca last game and Kansas State in the first game, both against the same opponent, CUAA, which was very strong. We saw CUAA had really strong team cohesion. When they drafted a game plan, they tended to stick with it. We're gonna have to see how both these teams approach uh, each other this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. Seeing CUAA get the better of both of these teams, it's kind of exciting that we get to cast the two teams that fell a little bit short going head to head against each other. Um, I know that they both switched up their strategies for the second games they played of the day, and I'm excited to see the little bit of scouting they did in between games here to kind of get a read on their opponents. But with that, for Kansas State, if you remember correctly, they had the Ari in the first game that got super ahead. So I'm kind of personally looking to see, as a mid laner, if they can continue that dominance in the mid lane and really get ahead and snowball. And for the side of Ithaca, kind of the same deal. Their mid laner got ahead as well and almost held the line against CUAA and almost got them back in that game, but unfortunately it was too little too late. So I'm really excited for this mid lane matchup here. I think it's going to be a good one. And
Well,
honestly, after watching both the teams play, I think that the supporting cast around the mid laners is what's going to make or break this game.
yeah, we saw in both games the CUAA's mid lane. The I don't know if I want to say struggle, but they certainly couldn't really match up to the pressure from the mid laners from both Ithaca and K State. So having these two mid laners that clearly can perform very well, both in lane and later in stages of the game will definitely be looking mid a lot this game. And we're already seeing quite a few bans here. We see Ithaca losing the or banning out the Aatrox, Gangplank, and Syndra, not wanting K State to pick that up after probably seeing it in the last couple games.
Yeah, and on the other side for K State, we see a Draven, Yone, and Viego ban coming through. And I think that K State kind of saw that the strategy that Ithaca went to last game, not playing for the ultra scaling, and want to cancel that out.
Yeah, we see a Seraphine pick from Ithaca, and Zillion to counter that off. It seems like Ithaca's trying to probably going to flex the Seraphine. It could very easily go in a lot of different positions. We have to wait until we see some other picks to really formulate what Seraphine is going to be doing in this comp.
Most definitely. And then a Zillion pick coming out on the other side. Zillion's one of those champions that you don't really see a whole lot, but is so impactful with his ultimate ability, giving his team essentially a 6v5 in team fights, it feels like.
As well as having that kind of movement speed when you have a team when you're playing in these 5v5s, having a champion that can impact how fast your team can respond in fights and skirmishes can be really devastating. So we'll have to see how Dasco Slaps is able to perform here on the Zillion. Following up, we have a Jarvan jungle into a Udyr jungle, or Udyr rather, into the Jarvan, as well as a Jinx, who looks like Ithaca is going to play more, a little bit more of a protect comp is what they're kind of working up at the moment.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they're going back to that scaling angle here with the Jinx a little bit. Obviously, having the Udyr provides early game pressure, And also pretty decent scaling into the late game for as much as he provides early and mid into the game.
And we see a Jin pickup from K State, kind of changing that. Well, their team comp seems to be more about pitching. And we have Jarvan for pretty strong ganks, and Jin should be able to have a lot of follow for that, both into the early and into the mid game. Since we have
Yeah,
action as well coming out. Sorry, no.
I was just gonna say that with this action ban, I expect a lot of mid lane champ bans to come through here. But however, we get an Urgot. I just feel like both of these mid laners, if they get their comfort picks, they will perform and they will be able to carry this game here.
Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot of information on the K-State side since some last minute stuff was happening as we were formulating teams. So we're not too sure on the picks, but I'm presuming that Urgot pick is to counter the top laner there. And the Castanen band as well, trying to probably looking like, as you were saying, seeing Ithaca kind of likes playing these late game hyperscalers to cancel that out a bit. Or actually, no, that's into K State rather.
Yeah, I think they're trying to. I think with a team like K State's drafting right now, Caston would be super strong paired with Zillion. Being able to speed him up, give him that second life after he goes in and drops a bunch of burst damage onto the side of Ikitha here. So taking away the Caston's pretty huge, and with that, an Orin pickup. Um, yeah, that kind of provides a lot of scaling. Orin's passive. Uh, Personally, I hate it. It provides so much extra gold utility, just anything you need to a team, being able to upgrade items. Um,
Really tip the scales if you can prolong the game. You know, I think it's a pretty strong pick into Ithaca. Very clearly, they're going to play the game a lot slower compared to game two. An Orn pick can make that a lot difficult if they don't get ahead early game.
yeah, and seeing the set picked up here is pretty interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that the set has been banned against Ithaca multiple times. So they're finally able to pick that up here. Um, that's going to provide, just a lot of, heavy front fighting for them, being able to keep the Jinx safe. If Jarvan dives in, Set can just pick him up and slam him away from that back line.
And here we see the final comp last two picks being the Anivia and then already to counter it. I'll say, picking up what you said, as a Jinx, I'm sure they are very happy to have these two meat walls, as well as having like Seraphine and Nivea for just a really annoying peel.
Yeah, it
And
feels like Ithaca's draft is very centered around their backline here. Getting um, having the Seraphine to kind of protect the Anivia and the Jinx is huge. Because if there were to be a crack in the front line of Set and Udyr, the Seraphine can provide the ultimate ability, getting anybody off of the Jinx and Anivia, as well as follow up CC with that. Um, and also being able to heal and shield. And so it looks like Ithaca here is playing for the late game. They're going back to their strategy game one. Um, and they're going to really look to fight Kansas State front to back here. Something very interesting for me is that Kansas State, their mid laner, and Blinds got his Ari back that he was so good on the first game that we saw today. We'll see if he can snowball out to another lead.
be interesting seeing the Ari again here after their performance in game one. Uh, from what I can see, we see a pretty poke heavy comp from K State, or kind of mix of poke and pick. You have the Zillion bombs, you have the slow from Zillion, and the W from Jen, and the charm as well. We'll have to see. I think a big part of this game is going to be Ithaca, how they kind of defend against all of the tools that Kansas State has, and try to not get caught out a whole lot. I think it's going to be their main goal.
Definitely. Kind of going off that, I mean, having the Zillion pick for something like the Jarvan is huge because, I mean, you speed him up, he goes in, you throw some bombs on him, he ults your whole team, your whole team's getting hit by zillion bombs, and they have so much follow up for after that. So it really depends on how well Ithaca can protect these backline carries that they're investing a lot into with their draft. Oh,
Be a lot more of interesting. Should be a lot more interesting, a lot funner game. I think of compared to the previous two. The previous two were really good. But this one, I think, we'll see a lot more of back and forth between these two teams.
definitely, I agree. And one last point before we go into break here before the game. Um, I think that if Ithaca makes it to late game, they're eventually just going to outscale and win. Um, but also, I mean, there's just so much scaling on both sides, and I think that both teams are kind of looking to slow down the pace of the games compared to the last two. They both played against CUAA, where it felt like neither of them kind of had control over the game. So I'm kind of excited to see which team comes out here, takes control, and looks for this win here.
Nope, we will take about 3 to 4 minutes break here while they get into the game lobby and get started.
Yep. And for this one, again, what I'm looking for is this mid lane matchup. Um, Rari does have a little bit more kill pressure than Anivia early, and also picks up the Dark Seal to start. So I'm kind of looking to see what happens there. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it was really good by surfing, boarding pass, spotting this out. Because if they got away with this, maybe pick up a kill, steal the red buff, put the jungler so far behind, and then kind of lets Jarvan just take off with the game. Yeah, and this might be a little bit of an error. I mean, we'll see what kind of happens with the pathing here. But if Udyr doesn't end up going top and getting that buff eventually and letting Jarvan just have this for free, it could be pretty detrimental to the clear and just kind of the flow of his game. Yeah, and I'm pretty excited for this top lane matchup. Orin's one of those champions a lot of people complain about, being able to do everything. But I feel like into a set, it's a lot harder than into other champions. I think that Set can just out damage Orin so hard early that it makes the lane a little unplayable. But as the game goes on, Orin starts to care less and less, and is really just there to engage or disengage for his team. And he will, and the Udu will cry and walk away from that one, unfortunately, not having a stun ready to go. But still a lot of good pressure here for the Anivia. Giving Anivia that space. Oh. Oh. Here, it's kind of what I was talking about with this Set and Orin matchup is that all the damage that Orin can trade onto other champions, none of them can give it back like Set can. He just stands there, punches, and Yeah, and it looks like Anivia actually got first blood mid. It looks like the Udyr came back for yet another gank, really trying to get his mid laner ahead here, and this time it worked out, not having the flash up on Arya. Yeah, it's like watching sharks, man. They smell it. They're ready for more. And this Udyr's being very active on the map. You know, he's hit mid twice now. He's been topside. And we'll see if he clears a little bit here and looks for something bot lane potentially. Yep, and unfortunately for one and only Def there, if he tried to fight the set, I think we've all seen it before. Set will somehow just win. It doesn't make sense to me, but hey, man. It adds up, and then, you know, the second he gets that big W back up, he can just trade so much damage back instantly. This is a pretty risky spot to be in if you're Jarvan, honestly. I mean, you know Set just backed. You know he's on his way back to lane. Uh, you kind of don't know where Udyr is. So it's a little bit of a greedy play, but it ends up paying off. He will get out. Again, the control of the Zillion we're talking about, being able to get your teammates in and out of situations like that will just be huge throughout this whole game. And yeah, definitely. And here we see the Udyr hovering back around mid again. He's kind of, you know, this is what I was talking about in draft. You know, these two mid laners, we've seen them in both games we've watched be able to put in a tremendous amount of work for their teams. And it feels like Udyr really understands that and is really trying to provide a lot of pressure for Anivia to farm and potentially get kills on this Ahri. Yep, Christ. No, you got it. Yeah, unfortunately for Endblind here, the longer this matchup goes, it kind of gets, you know, Anivia starts hitting harder and harder with every back and every item that she will pick up, and eventually, if you get hit by one of those stuns, you're pretty much getting one-shotted unless you have a Zonias or a way to get out of it. Yeah, I would definitely love to see it. I think you know, if they can punish the Anivia for being a little too greedy here, um, just gonna go steal the blue buff. But yeah, the Anivia doesn't have a whole lot of mobility at all unless Flash is up, and so I think with a Jarvan gank it would be rather easy. Um, for Ari and Jarvan to kind of burst the Anivia even through the egg passive. A huge play by Meatball there, flashing away from that, not letting the set get the Triumph proc. But here's Udyr hunting. Unfortunately there for Meatball, he couldn't quite run from that one. But yeah, that's the whole thing with the set pick is that, he almost just 1v2'd. And, little action here. Oh, that's a risky place. And I feel like that's a little bit silly on the side of K-State there, letting the Zillion just walking away there and kind of letting Jin get trapped behind the wall in the alcove, not really giving him an option but to die. This is what I was excited to see this game. Which team would establish this map control? Especially into an Ari, somebody who, if you traditionally hit with the stun and put a wall up, she would just be able to ult over it. But with the additional CC from the Everfrost, it feels like, one more of those when Halachi has a little bit more AP is just going to be a death sentence for the Ari. And it's so hard for Ari to keep up with the wave clear as the game goes on. But oh. Yeah, Crisis will go down there. That's just one of those fights we're talking about with the Orin damage. It's so easy to underestimate it. Even though he's a tank, he can and will beat you out in a fight, even if you are a juggernaut that loves those extended trades. This. Deft is taking a lot of damage here trying to defend this Herald. And we'll see, can Endblind survive the onslaught as well? There's a lot going on there at once. Both of these two teams, we were talking during our break and we mentioned the fact that, okay, both of them picked kind of late game scaling teams, but it feels like the tempo has not slowed down as, K-State is just taking full control of this game. Or no, Ithaca, I'm sorry. Ithaca, I'm sorry, but Ithaca's taking full control and really just doing what they want this time around. And they say, hey, maybe we have the better scaling pieces, but if we can get ahead early, that makes our job that much easier.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you know, we're expecting kind of like, especially from Ithaca, we're kind of expecting more late game scaling. But the thing about Anivia is that if you can get a lead, it can be pretty punishing. Or you have a lot of tools that you can punish your enemy mid pretty hard here.
And the same kind of goes with the Jinx. It's kind of how it goes with a lot of ADC matchups. Is that whichever ADC kind of gets a kill first or gets ahead in lane first, will kind of just be able to do what they want in that lane.
It looks like so far he has a pretty healthy look at the Goldie as well. Oh, actually, Inblind dropping the ult, misses the snare barely, although Jarvan is here to drop the ultimate down. The Everfrost will not find his target. Halachi's passive will proc, and they're just beating on the egg, although Halachi will still get the kill on Anivia thanks to the minions. Tries to drop the storm, but it will not be enough. Meanwhile, Lavinia is looking for a gank bot, but the slow from Zilean is just a little bit too much for him.
Yeah, and that's the power of Anivia right there, is that if you can manage to burst.
Oh, looks like ult from Jin here. Smite as well. Will it be enough? Yes. Jin ult is going to find its target. Dasko Slaps is trying to contend bot lane as well. The Jarvan engage is going to destroy Seraphine. Big Wimbo is next on the list.
That was huge for K-State. That was a huge play by one of the only deft, helping out getting that kill on Udyr, and then flashing and then engaging before they could get to that turret and really run away there for the side of Ikitha here. And I mean, just like that, the game kind of swings back to a more even state.
Yeah, it's looking, I mean, that like I was saying before during the draft phase, I think we're looking at, or hopefully looking at a game that has a lot of like ups and downs and backward. Speaking of Halachu, landing that stun and proccing electrocute just really hitting Inblind really hard there. We see that gold lead is really starting to kick in.
Yeah, that's how this mid matchup goes. Whichever player kind of lands that CC skill shot will just take a quick trade and be able to dominate the lane.
We see Halachu being the one to get that, actually getting the tower as well. Talking back, ooh, looks like Inblind being forced to ult away yet again. Here we see.
Yeah, that's just not fun for an Ahri player, is being able to, or being forced to use your.
Yep, looking to. Actually, I'm not sure.
He looked to steal, but he got in, got out.
Yeah, it was a solid attempt. It was almost.
He almost got it, indeed. But yeah, kind of having to use your ult on Ahri to get away from danger rather than finding picks feels super bad. And we'll see eventually if Inblind can kind of find ways to use ult to engage and get picks rather than run away.
I have to look for other targets other than Halachi later in the game. Possibly someone in bot lane, maybe even set later. But for the time being, he's stuck in this mid.
Playing the set with the Blade of the Rune King here.
Is trying to fight Meatball, but Winterly Death is here to back him up. The W comes down, almost gets Meatball down, but it's not enough. He tries to ult out of the turret, but Orn ult is going to be right behind him. He does a bunch of damage to Death, but it is not enough, and he will.
Oh man, unfortunate for Crisis there on the top lane. He's just one. It feels like one button away from just winning those 1v2s every time, and that just kind of goes to show the power of the set pick. Being able to be a force in the side lane, even if he's, looking a little behind.
We're seeing even though Crisis is dying a lot here, we are seeing a lot of pressure. He is 1-3, but Meatball is 1-3 as well. So a lot of this gold is going from both top laners is going into the enemy jungler on both ends. So I think we'll see a lot of translate later again. Speaking of Lavinia is trying to get an engage here onto the bot lane, dodges the set, the Jin W, and is just trying to skirt for Halachu here. Halachu is getting knocked up, eating a lot of damage from Young Ion, and will go down. The team just does not have enough backup here. 5v5, the 4v5 is just too strong. Crisis is in there, melting Zillion with those punches. He's looking at Death next, trying to land the shots. Oh, and Wimbo with the W. He is backing up set as much as he can, but will get a little too close. Ion sniping Jinx.
That was a huge fight for K-State. I think that they had the perfect idea in targeting Halachi there. I mean, he's clearly the strongest champion on the side of Ithaca here, and being able to shut him down out of that fight, not let him get the spacing he needs, proved to be huge. Crisis came in, almost turned the whole fight again. I'm telling you, the set fights are just crazy. Oh,
a little too slow there.
Yeah, I think he was kind of worried about going in there and dying, not really realizing, it was only Orin and Jin, and that he could have blast coned over and smited that one if he really wanted to.
I didn't really have the vision for it. I'm sure. Otherwise, if you don't see it, it's hard to judge. You have to have a lot of sense to know what.
Definitely getting some cold feet there. I mean, after losing a fight too, especially.
A little bit of a charm onto here, but maybe he's just gonna try to go for this vision. Actually,
he really wants this ward.
The warding pass trying to help up a bit. Does drop the electrocute. Balachi was getting exhausted.
Yeah.
Misses the Everfrost. Has to flash out. The Inblind is still eating a lot of damage here. Oh, and the stun, but it is not enough. Oh, Seraphine ult manages to hit from so far away. Wimbo is hammering with the rockets. Meanwhile, Crisis
for Ithaca there.
Yeah, Ithaca is picking up the pace a lot with this top and mid engagement here. They're gonna take this. Oh, the ult from the Watcher is gonna drop Deft. Actually, does proc his passive, but that's an even trade in my book.
This is a pretty big brain play by Halachi here, letting the turret kill him so he can come back full HP for this next siege. We'll see if it works out, but that was kind of his mindset going in.
Oh, and yet again, the classic Anivia Q into Everfrost just keeps Vasco stunned for so long. Even his ult
you can see Halachi is just getting so far ahead. He's starting to hit like a truck. Every E he throws out is just doing, 500-600 magic damage, and it's just proving to be devastating for K-State.
Yeah, Halachi was a bit worried earlier. He was extending a little bit too far in some of these fights. Like even now, he's kind of standing a bit too close to this. You have this Warren and this Ari that want to get on top of you. Although he has his team to back him up. Lavinia is in the behind, but they're going to trade Jinx for it. The Udyr is still going off. But that E is just going to nuke Ari for the rest of their HP.
Yeah, K-State putting on a strong defense here, getting them off that inhibitor turret. Halachu's kind of, Halachu has the hourglass, didn't have the passive. I think that Halachu needs to realize, you can't really position like that unless you have your passive ready to go. But other than that, on the other side, K-State, they defended that really well. Jin is getting pretty good farm. They're on a steady course here, and eventually once the Orin upgrades start coming in, they're going to look a lot stronger than they do now.
Yeah, and here we can see on the gold difference as well. Like, yeah, Halachi is up a couple of thousand with that rocket, but I'm a little busy. Just ask me later. I'm a little bit busy. Okay, yeah, you can use them. That's fine. That's a better option. But yeah, as I was saying, Nivea has this gold lead, but you have to look at also that Jarvan and the Jin, who also are kind of keeping steady on their gold as well, and they could very easily turn things around if Ithaca doesn't respect the potential power spikes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like,
Lavinia gets a stun on Def, but Def doesn't get the combo off.
Yeah, it's so hard to catch a Jarvan. He's so slippery with his ability to just get over walls, cover a lot of ground fast. And so just going for a little poke damage, trying to deny some vision there. But it looks like both teams are kind of posturing mid. It feels like they're either going to fight over this Drake or the Baron.
Drake is up in 50 seconds, and Baron might be the more immediate call here. Crisis does get a bunch of damage off on Deft, ults him away, preventing the escape, and forces the Zillion ult to go down. Meatball is in the midst of it. Lavinia and Crisis are taking a bunch, but will not go down.
Crisis is just tearing them up this fight. This is what I was talking about.
Missing, and the W. Ion is the last
for Crisis.
member.
He's looking for the quadra. And this is what I was talking about, the set pick, man. Eventually, it's going to work out. And set is just so crazy in these team fights. If he can manage to get a good ult off into the back line, Gore Drinker up, and then use that huge W true damage to just wipe your whole team, it's just, he's such a force.
Yeah,
it's going to look like a free Baron here for Ithaca.
Yeah, I mean, they only have 3 members, but that is a really fed Anivia just burning away at it. And Halachu has almost full mana, so it is more or less free for them.
The fact that Halachu has been able to just have ult on this whole time and still over half his mana pool is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, he already has finished the mana.
Yeah, getting that Seraph's Embrace is just, it's such a power spike for champions like Anivia, like Rise, these casted in these champions that depend on so much mana. And then once you get that, you can kind of just build full damage and do whatever you want, essentially.
That looks like Kansas State's looking to try to trade Dragon here after losing that earlier. Inblind slipping a little bit too far forward. Does have to use ultimate yet again to get away, but
here comes Crisis.
Deft does get it. And Crisis is in the middle of the team. Does get the W off. Nuking Ari. Ulting the backline. Getting the stun off. Big Wimbo is backing him up with the rockets. Halachu with the stuns. And that is going to be
holy.
a wipe.
The set is just so huge, man. Having a champion that can just run into 5 enemy champions and not die instantly, and then just, bring so much value after getting... It's just...
it's not looking good. They have Baron. They could end here as well. I mean, you traded 5 members for the 1 set.
It's just nuts. And yeah, with the Jinx, getting her passive off killing these turrets, it looks damn well like they could end it.
And Rich is trying to do something, almost doing damage to Halachu, but is smited, is stunned. Wimbo securing the kill. The rest of the team is up. Ion is going to finally... Oh no, the golden pose on Halachu. But Jarvan is in the back line trying to get onto them. Deft is forcing so much. Meatball does pick up Udyr, but Ithaca is just tearing away with the wall as well. They can't get back to base. Deft forced to go in. Set ult into the turret.
This looks like a bit of a throw here.
Halachu, can he do it? Can he survive? He has the ult, but it gets cancelled. He is.
Halachu.
Still has half mana. The W, the E comes down. Halachu is getting burned. And the Everfrost barely misses. Deft is a quick pursuit. He goes down finally.
Holy! For a little bit there, Halachu had the moves on, man. He was on the dance floor out there. My goodness.
Halachu's ult is doing so much for them, but they're just so close to base.
Ithaca, they got a little excited. We've all been there. This is happening. If you've played League of Legends, this exact scenario has happened. You open up the Nexus, and then you're like, wait, we got to kill them all first. But see Crisis. Crisis slammed somebody right back into the base and just immediately got destroyed by that fountain.
Got touched by the light of God.
Yeah, it was... Oh, man. That was exciting, though. If you're watching, you gotta love seeing something like that.
Ithaca giving Kansas State a fighting chance in this one, at the very least.
The Orin upgrades are starting to come in now, so...
Young Ion was doing a bit of damage in that last engagement. I mean, with that Orin upgrade, maybe it might be enough for a breaking point.
To be... Crisis. Here he is.
Crisis is there to follow up on the Deft. Deft does get the E off barely. The boarding pass is right behind him. but it's only a Seraphine, not able to do a whole lot this late into the game.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Crisis just, run right back in there. He's
certainly strong enough to.
oh yeah.
Bring pass misses with Seraphine. Fourth shot goes down. Seraphine does get the Seraphine ult onto Ion. Nvidia's in the middle of them. The exhaust comes down. Oh, and the ult on Meatball, dropping him on the whole team. Crisis misses the W, but Ithaca is shredding the front line. Ion cannot do much else but burn to the Anivia, or the Udyr stance. Meatball will follow soon after. Only Inblind and Dasco are left, and they will get caught by Halachu.
Halachu's just doing
Not much,
so much damage here, and it's just
a
little bit of disrespect here. But
bit.
I mean, after a long well, after a long day of League of Legends, I mean, sometimes you just gotta try and have a little bit of fun with it.
You have to enjoy yourself.
This will be Ithaca's first win of the day. K-State won the previous game, so.
Deft is still trying his hardest. Drops the ultimate.
Boarding pass. Oh!
Boarding pass.
Trying his hard out to end.
Yep. And the Udyr Bear stance will secure the game.
Eventually, the Nexus will fall. Wow, that was a pretty intense one, I'm not going to lie. See the set, it's been banned all day. We see why now, obviously. He's just such a force. He's so hard to play against, even if he's behind, because he can just do so much with his kit. It's hard. In the 1v1 in the team fight, he's just hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of those team fights. Crisis, even though I don't know how far ahead I would say he was, but it felt like he was leagues ahead with having that, being able to ult those really big targets, especially Meatball, living up to his name. Unfortunately, it worked to his detriment, being this big target for Set to just swing into the middle of his own team.
Exactly. I mean, you kind of look at the damage numbers here, and I mean, it's obviously Halachu on top. He was doing so much damage, but not too far behind was Crisis. And I mean, it really felt like it took 2 or 3 fights, and he was just doing 8 to 10,000 damage in those fights. It was just nuts. But GG's to both teams. K-State, they had a lot of momentum early with the Jarvan. He got ahead. He had a lot of good looks, but in the end, the set, the Anivia, the Udyr just proved to be too much to handle.
Fortunately, Ithaca's front line was just a little bit too strong. Halachu getting all that, or Lavinia putting all those resources out after losing his red buff and deciding, you know what, I'm just gonna sit mid, put all my eggs in this Anivia basket, and it worked out. Anivia was able to pressure and blind basically all laning phase and translated that really cleanly later into the game. The team fights hit, and Crisis was disrupting the team a lot.
Definitely, like I said in draft, this game, I think it's whichever mid laner can get out there and get ahead will lead their team to a victory here. And this time, Halachu got the best of Blind with some help from his jungler and was able to translate that into a win.
All right, welcome back to the stream. Game 3 of day 1 of the ESU Navigators Invitational. For this game, we have Wartburg and CUAA. They've, Wartburg had won their first game, lost their second game. CUAA is currently 2-0. So we are currently into draft phase. We will get right into that. I'm really interested to see how these teams go out. Apparently, from what I heard, CUA loves their AP bot laners. And apparently, their Pike was just an absolute menace. So I'll be excited to see if Wartburg, find, what made their comp work so well and shut it down, and find the advantage. We see that Wartburg, in the first game, they played a lot for the early game skirmishes. And the second game, they went for more of a team fight vibe, and they weren't able to pull it off quite. They didn't do as well without that early game lead, so we'll have to see where it goes. We have a Jace ban from CUAA. Jace is a very annoying pick, a very early game heavy. You get a couple early kills on him, and he'll pop anyone from long range and then close the distance. He can be really potent in the right hands. Fiddlesticks ban coming out, always a solid ban. Has such good presence with his wards. With his ultimate, always going to be good. Zach been coming through as well. Again, another solid pick. Such a heavy ganker. He can really snowball some leads. I think a very good pick, a very good ban. And then Misfortune going over as well. As we saw in the last game, Misfortune can be such a solid ADC, and can be played really well in the right hands. And then we end with the Pantheon coming through. We run Pantheon a lot in my own games with my own team because it's just so strong. The stats actually don't reflect it if you look at meta picks, but if you know what you're doing, if you're in the right hands, he can deal 1 million damage. He can then block 1 million damage, and he also can come out of nowhere. And then of course the Kayn ban coming through. Wartburg has had Kayn banned against them every single game. They just have such a potent win rate on it. It makes sense. Now this is what I love to see. First pick Samira. It's risky. Samira does not work into every comp. If they're specifically tanky, if they have a lot of lockdown, Samira cannot do her job very well. She kind of needs that lead. She needs to be able to find some kills in the bot lane. So if CUAA is smart enough to draft around them, that Samira can be shut down pretty heavy. But it is so early game. You're taking it away from the enemy team. You're saying, hey, I know, I'm just going to first pick this. I'm going to show you what I want to do. Can you step up? It's a very brave and risky move from Wartburg, and I'm very excited for it. Syndra and Savannah coming through for CUAA. Syndra can be either mid or bot, and like I've mentioned before, she's such a solid pick. She has a lot of early game, she has a lot of late game, and she can be really, really safe if you take the right. If you go, Zhonya's into barrier, it can be very, very hard to shut her down. Now this is interesting. In game 1, they went Samira route, and they were showing Yuumi for a second. Looks like they were just thinking, and they will go back to the route. That's what I was hoping for. Samira route is just such a potent bot lane. It doesn't matter who you are. They should be able to find at least 1 or 2 kills, or at least be able to turret dive very efficiently. Silas being picked up. That's very interesting. Again, just a really flexible pick. We've seen him even in Worlds quite a bit because of the fact you can steal anyone's ult. Stealing that ult, you could have that to really turn fights, or to pick people, and since it's on such a low cooldown, it's always going to be useful. Falls off a bit into the late game, but if he can get a couple kills going in the mid game, he becomes unstoppable. Now the Poppy pick up. Now this is going to be a very efficient pick for CUAA. Samir has a dash, Rel has a dash, Silas has a dash. He has 2 dashes. So that Poppy's going to have some massive value if they can time it right. Looks like that might be Poppy support with the Shyvana jungle. Maybe not though. CUAA has sort of flexed around some of their picks. So we'll have to see how that goes. Cassante ban coming through. That's very interesting. Cassante does not have the best win rate at the moment. He's a bit of a mystery. He's a bit undertuned at the moment. But in the right hands, he can be very efficient. He has such good peel potential. Yet he can also 1v1 very, very strongly with his ultimate. So I'm not surprised at all about the ban, really. And then Pyke coming through, as I was informed by Bobscop, Pyke was such a menace, so I'm not surprised that is being taken away from them. But they are challenging it. They're thinking it's not Poppy support, but if they decide to flex Poppy support, then that Pyke pick isn't going to be as useful. And then the Set ban coming through. Like I mentioned before, Set is just a really solid pick. If you play right, it can go a long ways, and he's relatively simple. So, just always a solid ban. Always a solid ban. We'll see what Wartburg has in store for this last pick. Senna. Now, I'm really interested by the Senna pick. Senna's actually a pick that they might want to see. While Senna might be able to pick out pick or like poke down Samir and Rao, they can get on top of Senna. She pops very fast. She doesn't have a lot of peel. She has a stun, but it's kind of slow. And she has some movement speed, but not if you're right on top of her. So it is quite quite interesting that they banned that. You think they might take away something with a bit more lockdown, but it will come through. Then the Alawi blind pick. I love Alawi. I think she's one of the most straightforward champions in the game. And I just love her design. I think she is such a cool champion. I'm very excited to see her in this game. And then going up against Aatrox. I'm not too familiar with this matchup, but I hate Aatrox and I love Alawi. I'm going to be favoring the Alawi a little bit. No offense, Wartburg. Love you guys as a team. It's been great shoutcasting you, but I hope the Alawi kind of gets a bit of a lead here. And then the Lily being picked up. Again, just another really interesting champion. A lot of movement speed. Not quite as aggressive as the Hekra or a Zac. But still has some really good gank potential, some really good skirmish potential, and also some counter jungling. Such big movement speed, it's going to be really hard to shut down. And the Kennen coming through. Just maybe. Will they pick it? I'd be interested. I like it, and Kennen will come through. And these are some interesting champions for sure. Again, Wartburg, they have some pretty good team fight. But they also have some skirmishing capabilities, Samir does really good in the skirmish, Sava does really good in the skirmish, and Lilia does really good in the skirmish. But together, if they all come together and they keep the Samir alive, she can really turn those team fights into something quite magical. So we'll see if they are able to go forward with it. CUAA on the other end, they have quite a bit of AP damage here with the Syndra, probably the Shyvana going at least some AP, not necessarily full AP. We'll have to see about that. And then Poppy has a lot of flexibility. As I've mentioned in game 1, I believe, she can go full tank and peel for her team, or she can go Divine Sunder and deal a bit more damage. So it'll be very interesting to see where exactly that goes off of. This should be a really interesting game. We'll see if Wartburg can find the shutdown onto CUA. They haven't lost a game yet, but hey, we saw a really impressive performance from Samir game 1, so if they can get that Samir ahead, they might just be able to do really well. So we'll be getting in game shortly. We'll be going on break for the delay, but we'll be back in a couple minutes. We will jump right into it.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Alright, now are we going to be seeing any juicy engages here? I'm really hoping so. I'm really hoping Wartburg, they can, find some early advantage. Looks like they're not going to. That's okay too, I guess. I will talk about some interesting stuff here. They did in fact go with the Syndra bot as expected. As I was told, they love their AP bot laners. I also really like the idea of putting the Poppy in the support role. Like I mentioned, Vitas and Flash and Kutcher, they have a lot of dashes. They kind of rely on those. And all it takes is, Poppy popping up her anti-dash shield, and it's just, there's no chance. He can disengage from pretty much anything. So it's sort of up to Vitas and Flash and Kutcher to bait that out in order to find some kills. Maybe getting some help from Corn King, who has just been so good at those invades. It's also Alawi mid, which, hey, I'm here for. I think that's very exciting. I'm excited to see how that does into the Sylas. I'm not very versed in Alawi mid, so we'll have to see. And then putting the Kennen top against the Aatrox, that's also going to be a very interesting combo. But it looks like they're just Wartburg made a pretty smart decision and just flexed it around. If you're going to run Alawi mid, we will put our Aatrox mid. We will have the matchups that we were planning on having. I think that's very smart of Wartburg, not sticking to traditional way of doing things. I'll be interested to see if CUAA flips the script and flips their laner, causing a constant, like a teeter-totter of who's going in what lane. Should be interesting. Both junglers off to a pretty similar start here. Things going pretty slow. Okay, so let's talk about some win cons. So, looking onto this top lane. Looking on to Wartburg, I apologize. You know, they have a lot of attack and catch power. That's kind of where they do their best work. They aren't necessarily looking to split. They're not looking to siege objectives. They're looking to catch you out if they can, and if they can't, just have a pretty traditional 5v5 fight. But they're looking for the engage on with the Rel. That's kind of the only place where they're going to get it. Aatrox, Arendelle and McNick, excuse me, or Borge going pretty even in that trade. You know, just again testing the waters, seeing who is stronger, who is the weakest link. It's gonna decide who gets the lane pressure later in the game. Does look like there is gank warding or building up. Excuse me. Both Corn King and Brown Action are sitting on that top side, so we'll see if anything happens. Doesn't look like anything will. But yeah, while Warburg sort of have the attack and catch power, the CUA has a lot of their own strengths everywhere. They can do pretty much anything. If they want to siege, they have a lot of room that they can build. They have a lot of peel and disengage to keep up that pressure. They can also split, they can team fight, they can do a lot of things. They have a lot of options. It looks like Borge, there are 3 people here. Kesnum does get the pin, and Brown Action will be able to deal damage and pick up the kill. First blood, shutting down the Aatrox early. Love to see it. I think that's what you got to do against the early game skirmishing team, is find those advantages so that you win the skirmishes. So I very much like that roam there. It also allows Doomslayer to get some solo XP. Now I would have liked to see maybe the spot lane, do something with that. Once they see the Poppy mid, try and do an engage. Rel and Samira can really start anything once they hit level 2. Once they're level 2, it's just game over. But perhaps Doomslayer was playing it as patiently as he should have. But yeah, very interesting. I think that's very smart of Khazad-dûm to roam like that. Because, Aatrox is going to be trading a lot. He loves going in for those small little trades whenever his Q is up. So, I think that's very smart of Khazad-dûm and Brown Action to get in there, wait for him to use his abilities, and then shut him down. It's a very clean wall pin as well. Arendelle got the pull with his W, I believe it is. Maybe is able to deal quite a bit of damage. You gotta avoid that. It's such a death sentence. Corn King coming in for the gank here. Doomslayer flashes away. Custom puts up his dash shield, and he will block 2 dashes with it. Very unfortunate. He flashes the thumbs up. Yeah, that's the strength of Poppy's support. It may be pretty short ranged. It may be hard to engage with, but the disengage is sub-potent, especially with something like Samira Rel. But that's the danger you get with picking Samira. Samira gets shut down so hard by the Poppy, so we'll see if they'll able to find Samira any clear advantages. At the moment, looking at CS leads, Alawi does have quite a bit of a lead. Arendelle doing a good job at out-CSing Borge. That kill certainly did help freeing up some room. There's also quite a bit of CS lead on Clubby as opposed to McNick Show. Oh, but that just comes with the range advantage. I think he's playing it very well, making sure that McNick Show doesn't punish. Drake is up, and there is about a 1,000 lead on CUAA, so we'll see what they can do with it. And we see this because Khazad-dûm ganking again, and the pin just pulls him away, and Borge does not have the mobility to escape, and that's another roam successfully pulled off. You gotta respect Khazad-dûm's ability to just go wherever he wants and get the kill. And as long as Doomslayer plays safe enough, Vite is never going to be able to find the kill. Typically, when you have a roaming laner, when top or mid roams, you give up some pressure. You give up, you threaten the enemy, or you risk the enemy pushing in and you losing minions. And if you don't get a kill, you can actually lose gold from a roam, so you have to be really careful. However, since Doomslayer is able to stay, it's a lot more efficient because he's able to pick up the golden experience. Khazad-dûm doesn't necessarily need it as a support, and he can roam around and help his team find kills. I think it's very, very smart of Khazad-dûm to be roaming like this. I would like to see a bit more punish on on this from Wartburg here. You know, if they just place a couple more wards down, if they see the Poppy roaming, now that they find the pattern, you know, it's very obvious that Kazadam wants to be roaming over and over and over again. So if they can just place some wards down, perhaps they can find some punish on Doomslayer. They can flash for something. It's going to be very hard to escape that. Forge taking a lot of damage here. I mean, that's the advantage of Malawi, you know. She gets that pull onto you, and she's dealing a lot of damage that you just cannot escape. And you can lose a lot of CS running away from those tentacles. You got to be very careful. We'll see if Forge is able to find anything here. At the moment, Corn King is falling a little behind Ground Action when it comes to CS. You know, typically Corn King has been on the aggressive, but apparently Lily doesn't quite have the clear speed that Hecarim has. The gank potential isn't quite as good, so you know it's definitely more of a scaling pick, more of a skirmishing pick, not necessarily a big team fight pick. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. They are down 2 kills, so like the scaling isn't necessarily what they might be looking for, but we'll just have to see. Arendelle gets the pull. That's gonna be a lot of damage, and Brand Action is here. He might be able to ult onto board. He decides not to. Kazadam gets a stun. He might be a lot of position here. Flashing Kutcher and Vitus can just hammer him away. Corn King pushes away Doomslayer. Corn King patiently waits for the shield to go down, and that will find the kill onto Kazadam. Borge gets engaged on. He ults for the extra health and might be able to get away. It is so close. Brown Action flashes and smites, but he will die to the turret trade 1 for 1. I mean, you gotta ask if that's worth it. I mean, you know, Borge, that might just be what he needs. He's 1 of 3 at this point, but it might be what he needs to get in. Corn King will be picking up the extra kill, but Arendelle will find the damage onto Corn King. You know, you gotta respect that pull. You gotta stand behind minions until that's off cooldown if you want to do any sort of trading. But yeah, that is huge that Brown Action died there. That is just like that much more gold going over to Borge. You know, Aatrox is one of those champions. You give him a foot and he takes a mile. So you got to be really careful with it. I also think it's really smart that Corn King was punished. Such an aggressive play from Kazadam. You know, he was very out of position. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the camera action. But, you know, like, he is kind of slow. And once that dash shield goes down, I mean, he is up for grabs. So he's much more efficient in the small trades rather than the long fights. Kazadam here is just being a menace, you know, sitting in the enemy blue side, knowing that he can get away with anything. He's quite strong right now. And he's just pulling a lot of pressure for pretty much no reason. He's just being a menace. Very much like to see it. You know, they have shown that Doomslayer can hold his own. I'd expect him to be a bit scared of the Samira Rel combo, but it looks like he can hold his own. So that really frees up Kazadam to do whatever he wants. Borge punishing some turret attacking here. You know, attacking turret is actually a very risky thing to do. You are standing still, you know, hitting an objective that is a little deep. It's very easy to punish. So good job on Borge for sort of punishing that behavior. There's a trade going on Mixos. Slubby Webby being able to find something. Arendelle doing a lot of damage here. Fully popping Borge's spirit water thingy there. Should be very interesting. I'm not sure what it's called. But yeah, this top lane matchup is definitely rough for McNick. You know, Silas is strong, but that ranged matchup is just a little bit of a counter to him. It's possible he might have preferred the Alawi, but he is holding his own, you know, quite well. He isn't down more than 6 CS right now. He's taking quite a bit of damage, but he's staying up in golden XP. You know, he hasn't died. That's really the best you can ask for in those ranged matchups, especially without much of a gank. That mid turret is chipping away quite a bit. And Brown Action will drop the Rift Herald. That will be a secured mid turret. Oh my god, Flushing Kutcher gets caught out by the Scatter. The weak takes a lot of damage, but will just jump out. You know, he's tanking enough that even with the full combo and Ignite, it is not enough to kill. That's sort of the weakness of someone like Poppy. Poppy does not have the damage until, you know, you get something like Divine Sunder and has a couple of items. Poppy support especially just cannot punish engages like that very much. Very much more of a disengaged champion. Needs someone else to deal damage. Spot lane is going very well. The fact that Syndra hasn't died yet is pretty major for CUAA. You know, Wartburg was probably really hoping to get something on Vides. You know, he can carry really hard if he just gets a little bit on that Samir. We saw he went like 9-0 or something like that in the first game. So we'll just have to see if he can find that. He does have 1 kill, so that is something. We'll see if we can find another one. That is a stun. Scatter the Weak locks down Vides. He will dash away using Cosmodome to get to safety. Very good use of the E, and will be able to survive. Again, just not a lot of kill pressure on this bot lane. They can find the picks, but they won't kill it. Doomslayer, on the other hand, they will turret dive, and the fact that Vides was so low means that Doomslayer can get the combo off, ult, and pick up the kill. Cosmodome, being as tanky as he is able to just tank the turret, live pretty easily, and everything will go in the favor of CUAA. Okay, now there is an interesting gank coming on top. Corn King trying to find something on Slubby Webby. There hasn't been a lot going on. The Drowsy will come through. He will flash out of the way and get under turret range. Midnight Show and Corn King do not feel comfortable diving, and that's probably for the better. Arendelle did get the first turret of the game. That mid turret is a really valuable turret. The fact that it's fallen so early is very crucial. You know, CUAA Truce, they can just stick Doomslayer mid and be very, very safe in farming. Corn King is on the other side of Arendelle here. You know, Aloy is one of those champions that can 1v2 if he finds a good ult, and it looks like he will find it. They will slap down the water spirit, and it will be enough. However, brand action is coming onto Corn King and will help Arendelle get out alive. You know, it's very smart for Corn King to wait out that ult. Notice how, you know, he baited out the ult and then waited. It's very, very smart. But unfortunately, Brown Action came in with the ult to save him. Corn King here might be in a little bit of trouble. Brown Action. Now, Brown Action ult is about to wear off, so we'll see if Corn King can dance around and get enough damage. Vitus getting some damage down as well, but a little low to fully engage. We'll have to see how that goes out. Scout of the Week does get Vitus, does pop the Immortal Shield, but a lot of damage coming in. Vitus trying to find the ultimate. He's trying to get in and get it, and he will find the kill on Cosmodome just dying, but then Doomslayer presses his button and insta dies, so that's not good. Doomslayer on the other hand is a little caught out right now. He does have flash. He might be trying to find something. Scout of the Week does find him. He does flash, gets out of range of the root from Flashing Kutcher. Although Flashing Kutcher will just turret dive. That is the strength of Rail, and that is a kill going over. Doomslayer finally dies for the first time. What a good game this is turning out to be. Warburg is a little behind. They're about 3k, 2k gold down, or closer to 3k. They're kill down, they're down 2 Drakes, and they haven't gotten a turret yet, or Rift, so they are quite a bit down, but they are finding these opportunities. You know, Corn King is really stepping up as a jungler, and the Maniac Show is going in. He has the ult, he bursts down Slubby Wubby, and it just isn't even close. Cannon just pops. What a good display of skill from Maniac Show. He's able to punish his laner. You know, what great patience from Maniac Show. You know, he hasn't died yet. He's been keeping up, you know, only going down 10 or 20 CS. That is what you do when you go melee to range. And then eventually, the melee matchup will be able to kill him. You know, he gets the... He has his lumens. He's able to gap close. And the Kennen ult is just so effective on Kennen himself, funny enough. And the fact that he's able to get it off faster means that Slubby Wubby isn't able to get off his. So very well done from Nick Show. That's quite the display of patience, quite the display of skill. Oh, there, Vitus does get hit by Scout of the Week, but he will just walk out unharmed. He did pick up the Merc Treads, which will be, it's very, very efficient. It lowers the time of that Scout of the Week, so it allows him more time to get stacks and get that ultimate off. It lowers the time that he can be locked down. Very, very good purchase, in my opinion. He gets locked down again, but it's quite not long enough. Although the Immortal Shovel does save him from the ult. That's a big cooldown down on Doomslayer. Vitus is a little low, but perhaps he can heal from the Shield Bow's lifesteal. And in fact, yeah, Corn King's looking for something here. Although no attention mid, you know, Arendelle, you know, if you send people there, he'll just get a kill. But Flashing Kutcher goes in, gets in, get Doomslayer, trying to find something, and Poppy will ult them away after finding a kill on Vitus. That was a beautiful team fight. Get the kill and get out. Doom is really putting up quite the performance. And I mean, they're going to have to figure out how to deal with this Arendelle. He is just shoving down this mid turret. He's found 2 turrets on his own, and despite the fact that mid is a lot more accessible than top lane, it is still an island. It's not about, apparently it's not about the lane, it's about the laners, Arendale's just so hard to kill. You know, he's gonna maybe find an ult here, and the healing just gets increased so much. The tentacles do so much damage. Will he be able to find it? And it is not enough. Magneto steals the ult just to be a little flashy, and they're able to get the shutdown. It's very good. It's a little late, though. You know, Wartburg, they allowed 2 turrets to fall because of it. And just the sheer pressure, the amount of people that Erendale was able to bring, they will find the Drake off of it. Now, this is what I like to see. In the other games, you know, Drakes have not been taken very quickly. And they're just so important, especially when you get a lead. Playing for Soul is very, very important. And now, CUAA is threatening the Soul Suite. They're threatening to get all the Drakes while Warburg gets none. And it just makes it that much harder for Warburg to stall out the game, to scale. You know, that Lilia is looking to scale. And, you know, picks like Alawi kind of fall off a little bit. Poppy is not as good in the late game as she is in the early and mid game. So we will just have to see if they're able to secure that last Drake. If Wartburg are able to get that last Drake, they can stall out the game. They can buy precious, precious minutes and look to pull something off on the map. Looking at the gold lead, it is not very much. It is only about a 3K favor for CUAA. It's 6-6 on kills. You know, they haven't got Warburg has not got a single objective yet. No barons, no rifts, no turrets. You know, they really need to try and find something here. Corn King's been trying his best, but he is not doing as well on these scaling picks, which makes sense. You know, Hecarim has a lot more of an early game presence, so they're giving that up. However, he's starting to get his items now. He's got his Leander's Torment. He's got his boots. He's starting to be much more of a menace. You know, if he can get in and out, you know, utilize that movement speed, especially for someone that's really immobile like Alawi, very possibly he can find a punish. Looks like they'll be trying something here. You know, 2v1 again. Corn King has a lot of movement speed, so perhaps he can get out. It's a lot of damage on board. You know, Corn King is being really patient with, you know, waiting for the ult. Erendale will be able to get out. He will find the ult, but the knockup will come through from Flash and Kutcher, and they will be able to escape. Corn King will die, though, to Ilawi. That was 1-for-1, and that's totally worth it, because that lets UA get the Rift and drop it top. You know, they're going to be cracking even more turrets. You know, Erendale's doing such a good job at drawing pressure. And what other choice does Warburg have? They're doing what they can. You know, they're trying to shut down the Alawi, but she's just such a menace. Perhaps they should have waited a bit, you know. Alawi was able to get quite far away, even after the Lilia ulted. They weren't able to get the damage she woke up before that happened. And now this Rift is getting 2 charges. Possibly 3 if they decide to walk it. They totally could, but it looks like they will be taking their wins. Although it looks like it might get a 3rd charge anyway. Borge tries really hard to stop it, but it is not enough. That 3rd charge will come through. Doomslayer knocks back Flash and Kutcher, stops the engage. It looks like we'll be picking up that turret. That is 5 turrets on the side of CUAA, along with 3 Drakes. I will say, this team is doing a great job at securing securing objectives. I think a lot of that is coming from Erendale. You know, that's just the power of these juggernauts. You can pull so much pressure, and you can 1v2, even 1v3, and you're probably going to take someone with you. And that just allows your team to do anything. You know, Syndra can take turrets, or, you know, you can send 4 people on the Rift to secure it just because of all this pressure. A lot of that was also granted by Khazad-dûm. I think it's as a team that they're utilizing this pressure. I'm very impressed. But Warburg's not out of the game yet. They're only about 5k gold down. That is, you can come back from that. You know, they're kind of looking for this next Drake. Magneto, they're looking for Erendale. Erendale gets the ult, finds the ult. Magneto might be going as well. He gets the ult as well, saying, you can ult, but I can too, and I'll deal just as much damage as you, and it might take 5, but we're going to kill you. That is pretty big. You know, that might allow Warburg to set up for this Drake. You know, they need it. It is coming up in a minute 20, so it's not a guarantee they'll get it, but it's a guarantee that they can get some vision pressure. They can walk in. They don't have to be scared about the Alawi, you know, pushing or finding a kill elsewhere on the map. You know, board shoving on some waves. Top is shoving. Looks very good for Warburg. Although, Sylvie, when it goes in, will find the kill on the board. She does not expect the damage. Does not expect it. Nixo does get down as well. He flashes away, but the Khazad-dûm will just pick it up. Doomslayer's being chased down with this Corn King. Corn King's just so fast that Doomslayer can't find any damage. Flashing Kutcher finds a big 3-person ult, but it's just not enough. Corn King's running, trying to find something, but he will get the Scout of the Week. He will have to run away. Will he have the movement speed to get it? Khazad-dûm will chase after him, and the kill will go through. Vitus is running for his life now. He's trying to find something. He's trying to get it. He will get blocked. It won't go through. The ult comes down, but it is not enough healing, and he will go down. That is 4 kills over to CUAA, and that is huge. Well, any pressure that they would have had is gone. It looks like CUAA will be able to close this Ocean Drake, and that is going to be so good on this Alawi. Arendelle is really going to be able to 1v5 at least for, 5-10 seconds before they die, and that pressure is absolutely immense. They can secure the Drake, send Alawi into a side lane, even mid lane, and just have the rest of the team split, and it's going to be really deadly. And what do you do as an enemy team? What do you do as Warburg? How do you win this? The answer is probably going to be burst everyone else. Kennen dies pretty easily if you lock him down. Syndra dies pretty easily if you lock him down. And Alawi does not take turrets super duper fast. She's not Fiora. She's not Jax. Her pressure comes from being able to draw multiple, not from taking turrets. So, really, the answer for Warburg here is to kill everyone else. If you can kill everyone else before Alawi can get the push, before Arendelle can become a threat, then you can send 5 to kill Arendelle, and then that's when things become more effective. So we'll be able to see, if Warburg can find that win condition, because it might not be easy to spot. It might not even be easy to execute. Poppy is just going to should be just sitting on that Syndra. We have the Locket, we have the Redemption. Khazad-dûm is going to be able to keep Doomslayer alive for very long. Kennen doesn't have some move speed, although the Maniac Show tries to go and steals the ult, but will not get the root, so will not be able to find the kill. You can see CUAA just slowly sort of building pressure. They're getting some wards down there. They're bush cheesing, waiting for someone to come in. They know that there's no vision, but Warburg knows that they have to, contest this Baron. They can't just give it up. Plus, Kutcher will have to run away, gets hit by Scout of the Week, and we'll have to jump out. Borch does find a good hit on the Doomslayer, but Doomslayer with this ult, not dealing a lot of damage. Borch will be able to survive with a lot of health, despite not having any MR. And that's a pretty big ult. However, just look at these health bars for CUAA. That Ocean Drake is keeping them prime and healthy. Doesn't even look like they're missing mana at this point. Borch gets hit down quite a bit. Arendelle will miss the soul pull, but it will be enough. Now, this is really smart. Corn King is looking for a flank. He's not sitting in the fresh. He's trying to find some pick. Slubby Wubby will maybe try and contest that. We'll spot him. And now they know where the jungler is. They know these are on the opposite side of the map, and they're calling for the Baron. It's very, very smart. Warburg just has to shove out mid. They have to, see what they can do, but they have to be very scared. And yet, look, they're not even starting it. They're sitting on a control ward, waiting for a pick. So we'll just have to see if they can do it. Flashing Kutcher, trying to get a ward down, but he will walk away. The Scout of the Week does not hit him. We'll just get pulled. And the jig is up. You can't sit there forever. They are playing to the strengths, though. It is a lot easier for them to get a pick here, rather than trying to do a big team fight. A big team fight is, they could lose, but a pick that can burst so fast. Although Corn King gets caught out of it takes a lot of damage, but the Dragon Slayer does not have the ult because of it. Big team fight. Flashing Kutcher goes in, gets a giant ult. Forge is dealing a lot of damage. He's healing a lot. The Aatrox is going crazy. Vitus gets the ult, but he gets shut down. The Samir's not able to heal, and CUA just cleans the fight. Warburg does their best to try and get those engages. You see these big ults coming through, but it's not enough heal. Vitus gets shut down by something. There was a lot of CC there. I don't know what stopped his ult, but it wasn't big enough for the fight to come through. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. I think that's what Warburg had to do. When you're behind, you have to go for those risky plays. You have to try and force something. Because if they got a big team fight there, if they got a Baron, that's a huge swing in their favor. Huge. But that's just how the cards were dealt. And now they are 10k gold down, 4 Drakes down, 5 turrets down, 1 Rift. It's nuts. It's going to be very hard for Warburg to play this. I was making extra tries to find something like Khazad-dûm. That dash shield is just very, very difficult to get. Corn King does not have a lot of wave clear here. Very dangerous when we're walking up. trying to find something, but the ult just goes down and Corking just dies. You know, that's the power of Syndra. Syndra hits a button. Very skilled champion. That's a lot of damage coming on Arendelle, though. Not a lot of respect. Forge has a lot of damage. You see that he's, you know, he has that Black Cleaver. He has the Vampiric Scepter on top of it. It's not a lot, but it's honest work. It's honest damage. You have to respect it. You might be able to beat him, but you can't ignore his damage. He does use the ult, but it's not much of a cooldown, seeing as there's no objective up. There's nowhere they're going to have to fight. This is going to give, you know, Warburg just a little bit of breathing room. It's going to give them just a little bit of maneuverability. They're not going to, you know, threaten losing an inhib now. You know, that Arendelle is such high pressure. But if we notice, you know, Arendelle's starting to approach, you know, full build, getting closer and closer. You know, he's got 2 items, but after that, that's really where his strength is. He's not as potent linking. There does seem to be a skirmish running up. Corking gets two with the ult. Little ground action, blossom back down. Vitus trying to stack up his passive. Nitro goes in with the Kennen ult, gets the shutdown on the Kennen. Vitus dealing a lot of damage and healing. Ground action is not able to keep up with it. That was a really good fight. That was a really good fight, and it's all because Alawi wasn't there. You know, I think that was very, very smart. You know, like I mentioned, Warburg likes the skirmish and looks like Doomslayer's going to get caught too. He flashes away from the Corn King, although Arendelle's here now, and he's going to be a big threat. He misses the pull, though. He's not going to have the damage on the ult. Will he be able to find it? Another shutdown going over to the Silence. Flash and Kutcher doing a lot of CC. Corn King bouncing around, dealing a lot of damage, and that is another shutdown. That is an ace for Warburg CUAA. Oofed it. Wow. What a fight. What a gold swing. All of a sudden, you know, that gold lead isn't quite as good. You know, they now suddenly have pressure for this Elder that's coming up in 20 seconds. It doesn't matter if you have the soul. If you have the Elder Drake, it is the strongest objective in the game. Holy moly. You know, CUAA, they might be getting a little cocky here. You know, they need to group. They have a lot of team fight, but if they get caught, if Arendelle gets bursted down, the later in the game it goes, the easier it is to burst down. All of a sudden, you're not team fighting, you're skirmishing, and that's where Warburg, where they flourish, is the skirmishes. So we'll be able to see it. And now, those death timers are scattered, you know. They aren't coming to the Elder Drake as 5, they're coming one-on-one. They're coming one-on-one, and that is what Warburg wants. That is where they're going to thrive. CUA made a huge mistake here, separating and not grouping, not being patient, waiting for objectives. They played their hand just a little too hard, and Warburg went for it. They saw the flaw, and they went for it. And this is such an exciting series now. You know, they might not have a lot of objectives, but now is when they can start swinging things. They don't have any turrets, but now with the Elder, they can start pressuring turrets. You know, and those objective bounties, they're going to add up very, very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden, that gold lead went from 10k, now it's about 5k. It's going to go to 2k until it's dead even. And then, where will you be? Where will you be? Now, I will say, CUA still has a really gnarly team fight. That Ocean Drake is it's probably the best Drake you can have against Elder Drake. So they're going to be able to stall, they're going to be able to heal and not get into that execute range. I'll be interested to see how Warburg plays this. Will they just pressure for turrets? Will they go for a dive with their enhanced damage? You know, one good ult that Magneto steals from Kennen, you know, can completely kill everyone. You have to be really careful. And Aatrox is just never going to die. Borge has his Eclipse. You know, he has his component of his Thornmail, Bramble Vest. This is so tense. You can feel the tension in this mid lane. People are just sitting. Like, what do they do? Do they engage? Do they not engage? They're just sitting at turret, trying to hold it. It is full health. It's going to be very hard. Warburg does not have any siege. You know, the only ranged person on the team is Vitus on Samira, and their range is very, very low. So if they're going to want something, they're going to have to force it. You know, Elder Drake is ticking. Elder Drake is ticking. They do not have the ability. I like this. They're sitting in the bush. They're waiting for someone to roam. And Arendelle might be their prey. He's also sitting in the bush, but he's not going any further. Corn King trying to find something here. He will be walking on the ward. It's very obvious. Arendelle might be falling here. Yep, the entire team is trying to dive Arendelle. Now, Arendelle might not be the pick to go to because he does have a lot of healing potential, but it doesn't matter because they find the kill. Now, that being said, if we look mid, if we look mid, I mean, they're just rushing it. You know, if you commit 5 people, but that just allows them to go to just barrel them in. You have to be more careful. It's 31 minutes in the game. The wave clear is immense. You're going to give up one inhib, and it looks like you're going to give up two. That Aatrox gets its chunks. That's so much damage. Doomslayer is online. That is a huge ult from Flash and Kutcher that allows the rest of the team to come in, deal their damage. Magneto trying to find something. He steals his run ult. He comes in. He's trying to deal the damage, but it will not be enough. And they just didn't find it. Lilia wasn't there. That's so crucial. Lilia is so much of this, so much of their fight. Arendelle might be down, but it doesn't matter. Corn King gets chunked. Doomslayer doing so much damage. There's not any MR on the board sheet. He just gets tanked, and that will be the series. Holy moly, that is absolutely incredible. What a turn! What a turn! That is nuts. What a great game. What a great game. Like, if you really look at it, like, they really had a chance. Their CUAA did slip a little bit, but apparently it was not enough, because they slipped themselves. Committing everyone to the Alawi was just not as good of a play. You know, maybe if they dived mid, they could have found something, but it's very smart in CUAA to just turtle on that mid turret. You know, Warburg Knight might not have the ability or the confidence to dive. I'm very interested to look at these charts. Let's go and take a look. Looking at the damage, I mean, Alawi did as much as Syndra. That's absolutely crazy. Well, for Warburg, I mean, like, you know, Lily was the main damage dealer. Everyone else did quite a bit on their own, though. Like, it's nothing to scoff at, for sure. It's a pretty heavily damaged game. Wow, what an amazing game. You know, they almost were able to bring it back. It was really close to that Elder fight, but it was just a little bit of a slip, committing so many resources. You know, maybe you don't need all 5, or maybe there's 4 to dive bot. Maybe you send 2 or 3, and you send the others to defend the inhibitors, if that's enough.